La 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 la. Screen peeking. Bop bop bop.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 37 of Screen Peeking, a weekly podcast where Ziggy and I get together to talk about video games and anything video game related. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about E3, video game gameplay being shown, all kinds of stuff, maybe even a Switch Pro release rumors and all kinds of information around that. Let's just get started, as we do each time, with what we've been playing and how we're doing. So Ziggy, what have you been playing? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, not much to report on that end. In terms of what I've been playing though, we were just talking about this before the show. I kind of can't remember anything except for like one game, so if I can't remember it, it's probably not worth talking about. But I finally finished Nier after a lot of kind of fucking work, to be honest. Like, I I do think that game just
Sounds
goes
like a
a little
blast.
overboard. It wasn't really like
Wow, coming from
I've
you even.
I know I've talked a lot about how like Nier Automata kind of pushes things a little bit in terms of like how much you have to work to experience a story, but generally my consensus is I think it's good. I think it's worth it. I think the payoff for what it makes you do is great, and at the end of the day it's only really like replaying a like 8 to 12 hour game once, but with a different playable character, so it feels different and all this new content, so it's generally well paced and fun.
Right.
Here you have to replay it 4 times, and it is replaying it like with the same character and the same kind of boring missions over and over and over again, running across the map. And it does add new content the first couple times you replay it, and by that I mean kind of new cutscenes here and there. So like first time play it, really enjoying it. Second time playing, I'm like, dang, I have all this new context now, this is super cool. Third time playing, I'm like, man, getting a little tired of this, but like I'm almost there. And then I realized, fuck, I have to play it again after like grinding to get every weapon in the game, which is boring as shit, to be totally honest with you. The side quests in this game suck. Like, thinking back in the game, it was probably 90% stuff I didn't like, and like 10% really, really, really good shit.
Right.
And was that 10% enough? I don't know. Like, it's tough because when I was thinking about, you can kind of predict what your game of the year list will look like, in January often.
Yeah.
And I was assuming this would basically just be at my number one, but Amori totally caught me off guard. And thinking back in these two games, I probably, like, thinking back in the stories, I probably enjoyed those stories about equally, but Amori was maybe 10% bullshit, and like I said, Nier was maybe 10% actually cool stuff. I don't know. It's just too much. I like having finished the game, like in those final cutscenes, more than like sorrow or any emotion the game was actually trying to make me feel. I just kind of felt relief. Like, Jesus Christ, I'm finally done with this. I can move on, which sucks. That's
that's disappointing.
That's not what I want to feel. Yeah, I want to feel what the game is trying to make me feel, but it pushed me way too far on that side of things, unfortunately. And especially with like the added ending it had, where I had to really do a lot to get to that, and that was, yeah, it's real frustrating. And the new ending, for the record, is really, really cool. Like, I really wish that when I'm talking about my experience with finally finishing this game, seeing all the new content, I wish I could just be talking about how much I fucking love this new ending and how it ties together the themes of like the whole series, and it's amazing and it's really well put together. But I barely, when I'm thinking about my time in the game, again, I'm not really thinking about that. I'm just thinking of like the work I had to put into it, which, yeah, I'm really not a fan of. But yeah, like my recommendation, really, if you've played Nier, like you know what you're doing with it, I probably not worth slogging through all that. Like, really, just watch a YouTube video with the new ending. It's like an hour and a half of new content at most. It's cool and that's a lot, but it's just not worth the effort in my opinion. But yeah, that's about it. I'm a little sad that I have to talk about it in that tone because
Right.
again, it's it's a really good game. I just wish it didn't make me do all this shit.
But I mean, like, your opinion carries weight in that you are a huge fan of Nier as a whole, and I know how much you really, really loved Nier Automata, and so just hearing you say that, like, at least to me, I can have some context, and I know you're being fair with your opinion on that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not me just trying to shun the game at all. It's the
Yeah.
opposite of what I want to do. And I think you can definitely tell that this is an older game because of that. Like, Automata fixes every issue I just described. Like, it does what that game was trying to do, but it executes it very, very well because, it's a sequel. That's what sequels are for. So, yeah, it's hard to be too harsh on the game given that, it is a PS3 game that was kind of a PS2 game being played in 2021, But yeah, unfortunate. Anyways, enough on that. What have you been playing?
Well, since it's been like 2 weeks since we've seen each other, I've been playing a bunch of stuff. I've been playing. I guess I should start with saying I finished Horizon Zero Dawn, so that was super
Nice.
cool. I didn't 100% the game, but I almost did. I got all the collectibles in the main game, and then I'm just kind of. I stopped for now, but I was just trying to get all the collectibles and stuff in the DLC, the Frozen Wilds. No, yeah, Frozen Wilds I think is what it's called. Anyways, the DLC is actually pretty cool. It's a lot more difficult than the main game. So like, I went there and it suggested level 30. I was level 40 something, and I got my ass handed to me, and I died, and then like kept respawning and doing this first. It's the first enemy you fight when you try to enter the DLC, and I died I think 4 or 5 times from it before I finally beat it, and I was like, holy cow! I was not expecting this difficulty spike. I'm playing on hard, so it's like one difficulty higher than normal. But yeah, no, I had a great time with that, and just finishing that game made me really excited for Horizon Forbidden West and how it's supposed to come out this year. But we'll talk about that pretty soon in the show. So moving on from there, I also have been playing Resident Evil 8 still, taking my time with it. I know it's a shorter game, and a lot of people just like blasted through it. But again, I'm playing it with Taylor, my wife, and it's something that we're having a blast playing with. I think we're gonna finish it in probably 2 more like sit down play for a couple hour sessions, and I'm kind of taking each one of those couple hours that we sit down and just editing it to about 20-25 minutes and putting it on YouTube. There's 4 videos out right now, 4 parts at this moment. So I think if the game paces itself the way it seems to be with bosses and stuff, it seems like I have only 2 bosses left if I was to guess. And so I think they'll probably be. Usually we try to finish and beat a boss every time we sit down. So I feel like 2 more of those videos will be all that's left. So that'll be done this weekend, and then videos will probably pop up Monday, Tuesday, or something like that. Other than that, I got to play a little bit of The Last of Us Part 2. I got to play the update, the PS5 update that came out, and just test out the 60 FPS patch. It runs at 60 FPS. That's what you'd expect. But it was just really nice to be able to see how. Because the game is challenging to aim with because there is a lot of weapon sway, and it's more grounded. It's meant. I feel it makes you feel stress when you're actually fighting enemies, and your aimer isn't going to stay solid. So you're trying to like move around with where your arms are moving. Almost, it's like I've got this reticle attached to your floppy arms as you're running around, and you're just trying to like line it up. And so anyways, I found it a lot easier to aim now with 60 FPS. I find that's the most important part of the whole thing. Also, I played Titanfall 2 campaign finally, and I've been really wanting to play that for the longest time because I keep hearing so many good things about it. I woke up one morning and I was off work and thought, like, I don't know what I want to play today. I finished Horizon. That feeling after you finish a game that you're really enjoying. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to play. So I just looked through to see what I had installed on my computer. And I was like, oh yeah, I have Titanfall 2 still downloaded. I forgot about that. I want to play the campaign. So played through all but the last 3 missions so far. I plan on finishing it, but I looked up online just a little while ago to see how close I was to the end, and looks like I have like 3 more story missions left. And yeah,
Nice,
I haven't
nice.
I haven't really been paying attention to the story, if I'm being totally honest. So that might be a negative. But I do like the relationship with my character and the robot that I'm my Titan, and just getting to feel the gameplay again, and the wall running and the jumping around, and like also just being away from it for so long. I knew it had the same weapons and stuff as Apex, but just kind of, I think I forgot, and I went back in. I'm like, oh yeah, this gun, or oh yeah, this gun, and I'm used to this. I remember playing Apex, and it's just kind of funny how instantly it's the same thing, and you're just playing that in a story mode. Made me really want a Titanfall 3 or some kind of mode with Titans in Apex now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, what you're saying about the story, I kind of can't blame you. Like the Titanfall 2 campaign, I think is it's just I don't think it's anything super like special, to be honest.
Hmm.
I think it's, or at least unique, I think is a better word. Like it is special just in that it is so tight, so well designed on like a very familiar level. And the story, I mean, like the actual narrative, I would say is pretty by the numbers. Like it's kind of
Yeah,
generic.
I found it well paced
But
though. I
yeah,
found I was
but it's
fighting my
amazingly
bosses in a
paced.
good amount of time, within a good amount of time.
It's amazingly paced, and also just the characters are so enjoyable. I feel like that's what
Yeah.
really carries like the quote unquote story of it, is just like character interaction. Um, so yeah, I kind of can't blame you for ignoring the actual narrative, but yeah, I'm glad you're finally playing it. It's a pretty good game.
Yes, yes, it is. But yeah, that's about it for me. But yeah, lots to play. Let's move on into our first topic today. This one we both just watched this stuff today. Obviously, the Horizon Forbidden West gameplay state of play. There's like such a big long title to that. Got revealed today. Wow, what a long run-on sentence. Basically, we got to watch the first gameplay of Horizon Forbidden West, and it was in a state of play, and it was really, really exciting to see gameplay for the first time. I was obviously really excited, like I just said, because I had just finished Zero Dawn and wanting to see what they would improve on. There's a whole reaction video I have on the channel of like my actual full thoughts on it, so I won't go too long on that, other than I really liked it. And I wanted to see if they would adopt anything from Breath of the Wild and kind of pull that into the game. So that being said, Zig, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't actually played Horizon, so in terms of like the changes from one game to the other, I can't really talk about it other than what they told me is new. One of which is basically just a sailcloth from Breath of the Wild, which I thought was funny, but like it looks fun to use.
That was the
And
one
also
thing I
things
wanted.
like, yeah, and also like an improved like climbing. It seems like it has a grapple hook. I've said this before. I'll say it again. Grapple hooks make every game better. That's just a fact.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, it looks fun. It looks like Horizon. I'm not really a Horizon expert. I haven't played the original, so I don't have a ton to say on it. But it looks how I personally was expecting it to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. It doesn't. It looks better. Like if you're talking just graphics quality. I thought the lighting was really amazing. I thought the lighting looked really, really good. And I have no idea if they had ray tracing on for it or not, or any of that stuff. But definitely the lighting was something I really noticed. Obviously, the density of the vegetation and everything was a lot. But what I was really looking for was like, are there going to be different types of, robots? Which, I mean, obviously there would be. But I wanted to see what kind of creatures they used, and obviously they show like a velociraptor sort of looking thing right at the beginning. I thought that was cool, and I know in that original trailer they showed that was like there was like pterodactyl kind of robots. So I'm wondering if they're going to have almost more prehistoric focused enemies, whereas before it was very much focused on like just your typical like real life animal, or I guess not that dinosaurs aren't real life, but you know what I'm talking about. Like now you would see horses or you'd see a crocodile if you go out into the wilderness, and you had those in like a robot form. And I'm excited to see if they have more like dinosaurs, basically, because I love dinosaurs. Who doesn't?
They're cool, yeah.
The gameplay looked very, very similar though. Looks like they're just adding some new tools. I'm curious to see how it feels to play, because one of my biggest complaints with Horizon Zero Dawn was that I got stuck on environment quite often, like geometry that doesn't make sense, that looked like it'd be something you should be able to run over. She would just stop against. And so, I mean, that's something you can't really get from a trailer, but I was curious about that. And the climbing was really, really, really limited in the first game, where you could see cool rock structures and you just want to climb up and get the thing at the top, but you have to run all the way around this whole mountain just looking for the one yellow rope that's the right spot to climb up. And you're climbing up on that yellow rope, and then the next yellow rope, and the next little yellow rock that's sticking out, and you're like, why this spot? Like, it's just frustrating to me. I feel like it still looks like that's still in the game. I don't think it'll be as like you'll be as free to climb anything you want. They have a scanner where you can like see highlighted spots where you can climb. So think that's their way of making the specific points that you're going to grab, that your character's going to grab, kind of like Assassin's Creed. But then if you're having a hard time noticing them on a rock face, you're probably going to be able to scan and see it highlighted, which is just nice and an accessibility feature, in my opinion. Other than that, I mean, I'm sure they'll have more depth to the combat. The spear fighting looked a little bit better because it was pretty underwhelming and basic in the first game. I like using the spear, but it was pretty much you have your light attack and you have your heavy attack. There wasn't much in terms of combos or anything like that, but they said there's going to be combos in this one, so that was cool. Yeah, the game looks like more of the same, but I'm okay with that. I mean, they're improving on a bunch of things, and really that's all I needed for a sequel for myself. And then the underwater. You can go underwater and explore. That's cool. I mean, being able to explore underwater is great. I'm not a fan of underwater levels, but if it controls well, then I'll be fine. I'll be happy with it. And I'd be curious to see if you can fight enemies underwater.
Yeah, underwater looked really pretty too. Yeah, one more thing I want to note as well is just the animations look really, really nice, and that could just be, I mean, gameplay trailers generally the animation looks smoother than it will in the actual game. But I would say like the animation just from this trailer looked pretty like Naughty Dog-esque, which is a very high compliment, just in the way different animations like flowed together very nicely, from running to climbing and stuff like that.
I would say
again that
go ahead. Sorry.
That could be just really polished up for the trailer, like as that sort of thing often is. But it looked really beautiful. Hopefully that's what it looks like in the game.
I will say, like, to that, the first game actually, that was one of the things that I really noticed was really nice about the first game. The animations do flow between each other really well, and they do a really good job. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is like the quality that they land at. Like, I definitely agree that those were really, really nice.
Also, actually, one more thing I want to know. I just, again thought this was kind of funny is Aloy. I don't know how to pronounce it. Aloy, I think. Her sort of like monologue as she was playing, I thought was kind of funny to me, in that you could tell it was like very, very scripted for the gameplay trailer, where she'd go like, "Oh, I wonder if I can lose him in here," and she'd run here and be like, "Oh, I should go like jump off there." It's like, I hope she doesn't say that when I'm playing, because I don't want my character like giving me suggestions. That sounds annoying as hell. I assume that's not in the actual game. I assume that's just like gameplay trailer, like a more natural way, instead of the like, "This is Horizon Forbidden West," with like some like Ubisoft style narration. But yeah, I just
in a
world.
Honestly, the first game does have some of that though. Like, I felt like I wasn't sure if they were just trying to add that as part of the like this gameplay reveals, cinematic experience, or if that's actually going to be in the game either. And the reason I didn't know was because the first game actually does have like contextual like dialogue where, like, depending on what you're doing and stuff, she will say certain things. Like, there is a certain line that I noticed the most, and it drove me crazy in the first game, where like if you crouch while running down a slope, and then she slides for a bit, and she'll be like, "Oh, that scrapes," and she would say it like all the time, and or like, "Oh, I did that," or I remember this was easier as a kid, and she'll say stuff like that. And she'll say it if you're like sliding, or if you're running away from it, or okay, I got away from them, and things like that, which I think a lot of games do have your characters say stuff like that once you're like, say, in the clear or something like that. But I'd be curious if they, just because of how much she does talk in the first game while you're just playing, like, I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually in the game. So
yeah, and I think it can be used well. Like Last of Us 2, I think did a really good job where you'd kill someone and Ellie would like kind of swear under her breath and move on, and it just kind of built character in that way. Like you could feel kind of anger in characters as they're doing stuff. But if it's happening like after I jump off a cliff and she's like, "Whoa, this is crazy" or something, but the way it was in the trailer where she'd say stuff like before you act, like as if she was giving you a suggestion, I thought that was weird. I hope that's not in the actual game. Yeah. That's almost like Stanley Parable type shit in a game that is not Stanley Parable.
That's so funny. That's so true. Oh, man. Anyways, that's about all I have to say, other than it kind of just ended. They did the gameplay. They basically said, "We're excited. Here's the things that are new." And then the screen just kind of went black, and there was no release date. They didn't even say this year. So
Nice.
my question to you, Zig, is it coming out this year? Because I was sold. I was convinced it was purely based on the fact it was a PS4 and PS5 game. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
it's being made for PS4. They could have started that development so much earlier and then slapped on some HD and slapped on some 60 FPS and then been like, okay, it's on PS5 as well. And that's why I was convinced. Now I'm not so sure.
I would say I just kind of assumed before this would be a smaller dev turnaround because from what they'd showed, it seemed like it really was just like taking Horizon's engine, polishing up the models a bit, adding, new gameplay, new levels, stuff like that, and kind of pushing out, which is, like probably a 3-year dev cycle. But based on this, it does look like they're overhauling the look of and feel of it a little bit, at least.
Oh, the
Like,
facial
it does look
animations
like
are
they're making
1,000 times better than they were in the first one.
yeah. And if that's the case, then I could definitely see this being more of a 4 to 5 year dev cycle. In which case, that'd probably be more of a 2022 game. But I again, I assumed it would be like fall this year, but the fact that they aren't saying anything definitely makes me think fall this year might be a little bit optimistic. I would say probably not a ton later than that, like spring 2022 would probably be a good date. Maybe March 13th. I
was just gonna say, you're gonna say what's the Friday the 13th in the new year?
Yeah. I don't know, but probably not this year, I'd say.
All right, I unfortunately believe you. I definitely don't think it's coming out this year. Now, I don't think I think that if they were confident in the release being this year, they would have said at least this year.
Mm-hmm.
That gets people a little bit excited. Be like, all right, sweet. That's the one game I care about. I got to get a PS5 as soon as I can, though, because it's coming out this year at some point. Let's move on, though, to our next topic here, and that is we're going to be talking about the Switch Pro again. We're going to call it the Switch Pro, Super Switch, whatever the name's going to be, the next Switch that's going to come out. We were talking about this a few weeks back, right, Zig, about Bloomberg reporting on the next Switch coming out this year, OLED screen, 720p, using NVIDIA DLSS tech, a few things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe, actually, I have the tab here. This is what I'm reading is from Eurogamer. Tom Phillips wrote this. Basically, I'm just going to read a little bit of this article just at the top, saying Nintendo's long-awaited Switch upgrade is expected to be shown ahead of E3 2021, according to a report published by Bloomberg. So I probably should have gone to Bloomberg, but today and Eurogamer's own sources, actually. So, Bloomberg and Eurogamer both claiming this to be true. If it's going to be shown before E3, how long is that? Is that 2 weeks? That's basically within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If it gets shown in the next 2 weeks, that just got me so excited reading about that this morning. I woke up at 4 and I read something. I just saw, you don't check your sources, but you just see a bunch of stuff on Twitter and you're like, it might be shown today or in the next couple weeks. That's exciting. I want to see what the next Switch is like. And you start thinking about how much money you've saved and all that stuff. I'm really excited for a new Switch, and I really do hope that it coming out, ideally, in September or October, the sooner the better, the more excited I get. And I'm really excited about possibly seeing a new Zelda. I really hope that comes up. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I believe it. I don't know. I think production is going to be really tricky on this. Like, I believe it because it comes from Bloomberg, to be honest. Like, Bloomberg doesn't really fuck around with their sources. No. They generally, if they report something, it's not going to be some random unsubstantiated rumor off Twitter, So I'm sure someone who is credible believes this. I don't know if it just doesn't necessarily make sense to me to be revealed this early when the regular Switch is having so much trouble being produced. And part of the report was saying that they're sourcing it with new parts that they think will be easier to get. things like that, so it won't have all the same production issues. So
Yeah,
maybe
what
I'm thinking
too.
of is kind of unfounded, but I don't know. It does seem a little strange to me to be ramping up production on some big new console when it seems like they're hardly able to produce the regular console right now.
Yeah, that's the
Like
tricky
I guess
thing.
it would make more sense to launch like next year when hopefully like chips are in a little bit more of a stable state in terms of production. Um, but yeah, I mean, that side of things aside, I do think this is a very good timing for it. Like, but before E3 is smart to reveal it, because then you'd see the console, and then all throughout E3 you're seeing games, and they can say, yeah, and this is going to be on the Switch Pro in 4K, like, or upscale to 4K with DLSS or whatever, you know.
Hmm.
And they can be doing that whole time, and even Nintendo's showing at E3, they can be like, oh yeah, all these games, it's going to look even better on our new console. So I think that's a pretty smart move. Uh, yeah, I don't know if I believe it or not, to be honest. I'm generally really skeptical of Nintendo rumors specifically. Um, yeah.
I tend to let the excitement get the best of me, and I'm okay with that. I full on believe that we're getting the information before E3. Obviously, yeah, I trust Bloomberg, so that definitely helps. But just also, I feel like I'm fooled less than I am not. And I find I'm a pretty good judge when I'm able to get enough source, like read enough things or from enough different people about different things, and you find what matches, what doesn't, and you can kind of just get a feel on what feels right. Um,
Hmm.
I basically, if we just want my opinion on what I believe that that all this information is true, and I believe that the Switch will come out and it'll be super limited and super hard to get for this new Switch, right? And I think the regular Switch is already hard to get, so
Hmm.
if it's no different, might as well be relevant in that Nintendo has a new system or a new console, just like the other two big companies like Microsoft
Hmm.
and Sony. I also think that it's just a great way to celebrate if you want to have a bunch of games and have a bunch of stuff coming out, and like they've been so quiet, and arguably the only big game in the last year or more is Animal Crossing from Nintendo. Like
Hmm.
I yeah, like the thought that I don't really play my Switch at all makes me sad because I grew up playing Nintendo and I want to keep playing Nintendo games, but I find I'm
Hmm.
spending so many years of my life just waiting for a game to come out, and I don't fly
Yeah.
through them. Like I just said, I'm taking like what 3 weeks almost or more now to play Resident Evil 8, like a 12-hour game
Hmm.
at most. So like I'm not flying through these games. I'm just wanting somewhat a steady release of content that looks fun, right? Like even if I got
Hmm.
one game that I find interesting every half year, that would still be somewhat more than what it is right now. Is like I was not
Hmm.
interested in Animal Crossing. The last Nintendo game that I bought that I was interested in was, I think this came out actually after Animal Crossing, but I got Paper Mario, but I still haven't beaten it because it just didn't click for me. So that was a bit of a
Hmm.
disappointment for myself. But anyways, get a little sidetracked here. If it does come out this year, though, Zig, what games would you think? We can include rumored games here. We're putting down the rule book, and you can choose
Hmm.
whatever game you want. What would you want to release with the new Switch if it comes out? Let's just say October.
Yeah. I mean, Breath of the Wild 2, obviously.
That's the right
Like
answer.
that's the least hot take. Like that's real cold. That's what everyone says. I do think they'll release some remasters around it, especially like Zelda 30th anniversary. Um, I could see them just because it's cheap, like take Wind Waker, Twilight Princess HD, put it on here and say, hey, it's super HD now. You can play this shit in 4K on your TV. And that I feel like would be pretty appealing to a lot of people. Um,
4K Wind
I
Waker.
don't. I mean, I don't know. Based on what they've announced and kind of their slate, I don't know if there's any other big games than Breath of the Wild 2 that will be ready by this fall. Like we've seen
Hey,
things
we're
like
putting
Splatoon
down the rule
3.
book. What do you want? What do you want to have?
I mean, what do I want? I
Yeah.
mean, Jesus, yeah, Breath of the Wild 2, give me fucking Bayonetta 3, give
Okay.
me I
Okay.
don't know, give me everything, give me it all, give me
Metroid Prime 4 is the one that
give me
the
new
other
Star
answer I wanted.
Fox. Give me another Star Fox. I don't know, fuck it. Uh, but I don't know. Like, there's a lot of things I want.
I want
Nintendo, I just
Pikmin
don't think will
7. Let's
deliver.
skip a few there and just go right to 7. And I really want Metroid Prime 4. I want some information on it. So if I could just give me that.
I want to know that game is still live at least.
Yeah. It rulebook down. I want Zelda. I want Metroid. And I would love to have another Donkey Kong Congo game where you have the little bongos, and I would love that so much. I love that game on the GameCube. I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking. That's what I want.
Talking about software, though, to be honest, like the release of the Switch Pro, we were talking this before the show, I don't really see myself getting one. I don't think I use my Switch enough outside of like just Nintendo first party games to really warrant spending the like $300-400 that it'll be for me. But what I am really excited about is that new consoles always mean big games, and so if getting the Switch Pro does mean that we get a faster tilt of big fun new games, then great. I'll just play those on my regular Switch probably, but that still makes me super hyped. Like that will be a big financial incentive for them to actually put stuff out that will look great on this new console, because they haven't really had that financial incentive before. It's kind of been easier to just coast on the fact that everything they make is selling like crazy, no matter how actually big it is. It's exciting to me. I mean, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, like myself, I was saying I have the Joy-Con drift on my Joy-Con, and so I need to buy new controllers if I keep my old Switch. But the thought that really makes me go, damn, I would have to buy the new Switch if they go, okay, the new Switch has better hardware to where you can play on the, like we're just talking Breath of the Wild, like the first one. You can play it at 60 frames a second, 720p, and you can play the new one at 60 frames a second, 720p. And I'd be like, that's super cool. And then they go, but also if you dock it, you can play 4K 60 FPS on your TV with the DLSS. And I'd be like, that's pretty cool. I mean, if I'm choosing between a 900p on my TV at 30 frames a second on my old Switch or 4K 60, that would be a big enough jump to where I'm going that for myself, even if it's just that one game I buy, I'm talking probably 120 hours at least of experience in that, and I would definitely love to play that on the big TV and not have it be extremely blurry. So that's for me.
I think, to be honest, they won't add this, but the feature for me that would probably push me to spend money on a new Switch is if they added like proper virtual console style support. Like, let me just play a big library of NES, SNES, N64, please.
Nintendo Game Pass, for real. Think about this the other day.
If it was literally just like except I don't want a subscription. I just want to buy the games I want. Like, just let me play old games. Fuck Nintendo. Like, I shouldn't have to resort to shady means to like just let me buy something from you. Like, it's so frustrating. Let me buy your old stuff. I want to. Like, I have the money. I will give it to you. Just let me. And they won't. Just add proper virtual console support. It's so frustrating. If they did that, I probably would, because I like playing old games. If I can play Earthbound or whatever in fancy resolution with fun sort of emulation features on like official, emulation from them, I think that would be great. But they won't at this point. I've kind of given up hope.
I feel like they've got to be working on something though, and like I'm not gonna let my idea die there, because even if they had a subscription like Game Pass, you could still buy this. Theoretically, the games are then you do have your virtual console. You just have a subscription model to be able to play all of them without having to buy them a la carte, right?
Except right now, that's kind of how Nintendo does it. If you want to play like NES, SNES games on your Switch, you have to have Switch Online, which kind of is their like Switch Pass thing already. It's just that their selection kind of sucks for both of those.
I wouldn't say it sucks, but
it could be a lot better. The fact that there's games on the SNES Classic that aren't on the Switch Online subscription sucks. Like, you already put it out officially like very recently. Like, why is Earthbound not on there yet? Please, Nintendo, please.
I mean, honestly, they could do a lot more with it. I would love to see, even though I don't think it'll happen, I would love to see them just be like, you know what, Microsoft has their shit together. We're gonna have a live, just like how EA like joined up with a bunch of their games. Nintendo's like, here's a bunch of Nintendo games that you can play as part of the Game Pass subscription or something like that. And then I don't know what they get out of it, but that's not my job to figure it out. I'm just saying that would be super cool. I would love that. Get some achievements in Mario Sunshine.
Yeah.
Well, that's about all I have to say on that. Other than, let's move on to the next topic.
That's good.
Summer Game Fest. Let me just pull up this. What's going on? Let me just pull up this article here. So, Jeff Keighley, right? Not even an article, just his Twitter I'm pulling up. So, he wrote, and this is a while back now, because this was supposed to be talked about last week. So I just wanted to bring it up because I'm excited for the fact that Summer Game Fest is coming back. Jeff Keighley posted on Twitter, it's official. Summer Game Fest returns live starting on Thursday, June 10th. This year, the fun begins with Kickoff Live, a big world premiere showcase show with at Weezer performing Day of the Devs, with at I Am 8-Bit and more. And then he gives a link to the Summer Game Fest website. But yeah, basically, Summer Game Fest is going to be condensed. It's not going to be all summer, which is awesome. And I think there was about, what was it, like 12, I'm just guessing here, about like 12 or so premieres for games all at once, basically over those 2 days. I think that's really, really cool. All at once over those 2 days. I just heard myself. Yeah, that would be really, really cool to see. I love the premieres. I love seeing gameplay for the first time or the first trailer for a game. And I think it's funny that he's placing it right before E3. Like, hey guys, guess what? Like, here's my show, and I'm just kickstarting the E3 thing. After my show, like, here, welcome to E3. Like, this is a great event. This is it almost makes it seem like it's his thing. Also, it almost makes it feel like E3 is a part of his event, and I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm terribly excited for this, to be honest. Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest events have pretty consistently bored me in the last year, to be 100% honest. Like, we live streamed a couple of them, and both times was generally just kind of like, cool, can I see something that like I'm kind of interested in now? Because it was just a lot of niche shit. And maybe it's just me, but I wasn't interested in a lot of it. I know that isn't just me, though, because I've talked to a lot of people. It's like, you can't have this many Warhammer games in one presentation. Like, I know Warhammer fans exist, but not very many people are Warhammer fans. You got to tone that down a little bit. So, I don't know. Maybe he'll really clean it up, and this will be a great show. I kind of don't necessarily think so, to be 100% honest. But, yeah, we'll see. Events are always fun.
That's just it. That's the key thing here. Like, it's so easy to point out, what could not go right or what could be lame. And I agree. It was a snooze fest when we were watching Game Awards last year. Like, we were both just not in it, and there was nothing for us there. And I didn't find I didn't like the way Summer Game Fest happened last year either. So, I just love seeing, there's an event. There's another event. And here's where a bunch of games are being shown. What are we getting? And if it's not for me, it's not for me. No reason to be angry about it. No reason for me to be upset about it. It's just, I'll move on. I'll be excited about it the next day, and then the next day, and then see what's happening the day after that. And just the fact that there's going to be 12 premieres, that gets me excited. It doesn't matter what show it is a part of. The fact that there's 12 premieres for games gets me so hyped. So.
Yeah, and granted, the reason I say events are always fun is because I don't have to watch them. Like, this will 100% be a let it live stream and then watch all the trailers afterwards event for me. And that's fine. I love watching trailers. Like, I'm totally fine doing that. And if there's one or two games in here that look at least semi-interesting to me, I can spend 10 minutes of my life watching those two and then moving on,
Yeah, I'm not taking a day off to watch ads.
No. But yeah, I'm excited. And yeah, like you said, it is kind of kicking off E3 in a non-official sense, in the fact that it's happening, like a day or two before E3 actually starts. I kind of see it as the opposite of what you said. This more seems like Jeff Keighley is a part of, or it more feels like Summer Game Fest is a part of E3 than E3 is a part of this, at least in my head. in the same way that like Xbox and PlayStation would always have shows that aren't technically E3 but are E3 because they're happening at the same time. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm excited.
Right.
Like new games and new games. I can look at them. I'll probably be excited. I'll almost certainly find one or two that look cool. It'll be fun.
I'm very much looking forward to the 12th specifically. After the Game Fest, I'm really looking forward to when E3 really kicks off, and especially Microsoft's event. If I have to like put my money down, I feel like that's the one I'm going to be. I'm going to get the most excitement from right now.
I say this every year, but I think that one's going to be a banger.
I know we said that. Yeah, we say that all the time. But yeah, now they've gotten like all their ducks in a row. It feels like. Maybe not games being ready, but in terms of stuff they can talk about, and they're like, we got Game Pass and we have it available for everyone anywhere now, and there's all these promotions and all these deals, and we got this studio. It's like they have so much. 90 minutes. Bethesda and Xbox. We didn't even put this on the doc. We were talking back and forth whether we want to talk about it, but let's just like throw it in here. They're having one show for both of them. 90 minutes.
I think that's smart.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Yeah, and I think 90 minutes for what is essentially, I'm going to call them two major publishers, because like Bethesda is a major publisher. They're just now owned by Microsoft. I think that's a pretty crisp pace compared to Microsoft often would have like 2-hour shows of a lot of fluff. And so if it is just 90 minutes, a little more condensed with hopefully a lot of shit to show. So it is just trailer. Like take out the talking, take out the like, I don't know, DLC announcements and stuff. You can put those in a tweet and just really condense it. Show me the stuff I want to see.
Well, you have to have the 2-minute long slow motion car reveal Forza thing at every show, right? There's always one of those. Yeah, and here's another car in slow motion smoke everywhere. I had a thought the other day, Zig. I tweeted this out a few weeks ago now, but I really wanted to talk to you about this. I was thinking about the PlayStation 5 side panels, and I was thinking about them just in general, how they detach. Oh, you can customize them, whatever. And then I landed on a thought, and that was, with all the shortages we're having right now in the chips or whatever it is, hardware that the manufacturers need to make these consoles, and the fact that these consoles are so hard to get. Normally you would see bundles like with a console and a game, and I'm wondering if that's going to be that's not going to be a thing as much for a little while until they can populate these orders, right? And I was thinking, what if they made custom side panels to come out with a game? So you get your physical bundle of your side panels. So let's say Ratchet and Clank or Rift Apart, cool side panels, they're in a box, and you get a digital code to download the game. And like,
that'd be cool.
For me, that would be so cool. I would be so down for that. And I was like, I feel like this is $1 million idea, and I have to just like let you know about it, because I'm like, I could think of any game that comes out and you get this cool side panel, and even if they just did the one side, I don't know. I just think it'd be awesome. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Sony is missing out on a pretty big opportunity if they didn't have some sort of like special side panels on their console. And yeah, I think that's a pretty smart way of doing it, of having that just be part of like the collector's editions of games, where you get your steelbook case, you get your little like map or whatever, and you get some really fancy cool looking side panels that you can just snap right on there. I think that'd be pretty fun. Yeah, I think that's a smart way of packaging that.
All right, cool. I just want to throw that out there. I think that's about it, other than like our favorite 50 games of all time. So we can just jump right into that. We're on number.
Do it.
Oh, is this true? Are we on number 34?
Yeah,
we are. Okay. Well, let's do number 34. Do you want to go first?
All right. My number 34 is Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, specifically because it's just Devil May Cry 5, but with more content, and the new content's really, really good. Yeah, I think Devil May Cry 5 is... Oh, God. I mean, it's definitely the best character action game I've played in terms of gameplay. It's pretty fucking close to perfect in close of gameplay, to be honest. Like, I honestly can't remember if I've talked about it much on the show at all, but like the way that Devil May Cry 5, more than the other Devil May Cry games that I've played, I feel like you have just so much control over what you're doing, which is really rare, I think, in character action games, where even my favorites, like stuff I've talked about before in this list, Metal Gear Rising or Vengeance, I often feel like I'm just kind of pressing X and Y and shit happens and it looks cool and great. And if I was playing it on a really high level, I probably would feel like I am a little bit more in control just because I've memorized these massive combos. But DMC5 just, and DMC in general as a design philosophy, just strips so much of that out and makes it just, no, the combos are really basic. Basically, it's just, there's one melee button. If you press forward on a stick, you'll kind of charge forward when you melee. If you go back, you'll launch yourself up. And it's almost like Smash Bros. With different characters, where every character, you can expect them to do the same thing. If you press Y with a different tempo, so like Y, hold, Y, you might do a smash and then 2 quick slashes. You know, it's just so intuitive. Everything you think will happen does happen. And because of that, when I'm doing really cool shit on screen and I am getting that like triple S style beater and stuff like that, it doesn't feel like something that the game is just sort of doing. It does absolutely feel like something I'm doing. Like I'm making decisions about what moves I'm doing and I'm executing them, not just stuff is comboing and it looks cool. And I think that is incredible because no other action games get it down that well. And it's such a smart design philosophy. And I think that the pinnacle of that sort of control is with Virgil, which is only in Special Edition. I think he is absolutely the most fun character to play of the 3 in DMC, or I guess 4 in DMC5, where every move is a little bit more separated from one another because he is slower. Like he's an anime villain. He's all about, like slow walking, looking at the enemy and then charging for them, do a bunch of quick strikes and then back off, and you feel like an anime villain when you're doing it, which is awesome, but it also, like, that level of control and that sort of strategy involved in it is so much higher with him. I don't know. It's such a just stupidly smart designed game. Every enemy feels so distinct and different to play against, which I love. That's every enemy, you see it and you can take them down in different ways, but those different ways depend on the enemies you're facing. Like some just kind of rush you, so you just kind of do basic attacks, and other ones, you have to back off and then attack and then back off because of their attack patterns. Other ones are in the air, so you have to do a lot more aerial moves to get them. It just makes every encounter feel so unique and so fun. God, the bosses,
Chef's
are just
kiss.
a work of art. It is, it's beautiful. They're all like, they avoid one of my least favorite design pitfalls with bosses, where it doesn't feel like I'm using the skills I've learned in the game. It feels like I'm doing something else now that's technically harder, but not as fun. But in here, it really is just like those combos, everything you've been learning, have it here, but it's way faster and it's way higher stakes. And it's epic, and it's this huge like enemy you're facing, and it's just awesome. It's so good. It's so perfect. In addition to that, most character action games also don't do this. The story, pretty dang good. Like DMC, kind of rightfully so, has a reputation for just having like stupid whatever stories, but DMC5, genuinely a pretty good like story of rivalry between brothers and like kind of overcoming the rivalry and stuff like that. I mean, it's not deep by any means, it's not a masterpiece, but like it's fun, it's excellently paced. It makes sense even if you haven't really played other DMC games. If you have a very base level knowledge of what they are, you'll probably understand it. With a bunch in there for longtime fans, which I didn't get upon my first time playthrough, but I, understand the references later when I had kind of looked into the series more, because this game is so fucking good and I felt like I had to. It's in terms of gameplay, it's pretty damn close to perfect. Like level design, a few other things kind of take away from that a little bit, I would say, which is why this is in my 34 slot, not like top 10. Right. But God, this is good. Like, fuck, if you like action games, play it, please. It's always cheap on Steam. It's so good.
Yeah, I got that one for free with one of my graphics cards for my other computer, and I started playing it. I think I just played the first level, and then I liked it a lot, and for some reason stopped playing it, and it ended up eventually getting uninstalled and just one of those things that just fell behind, but while you've been talking, I just downloaded it. So, or I'm
Nice, yeah.
downloading it now. So I think I'm off for 3 days now after today. So get my COVID shot tomorrow, which is exciting, and then we'll see. If I don't feel good, I'll probably be playing that for a day or two. So
Yeah, and actually, one more thing I want to talk about this game, because I am thinking about the perspective of like replaying it, which God, this game is so replayable. But yeah, playing it for the first time, part of what I think really does what I was talking about, if you feel like you're in control so well, is that you have to unlock every ability you get, and you start with a really, really small amount of abilities. And you pick and choose which abilities you get as well. They're not handed to you. You just get a list, and you can buy them with currency. And so every move you get, you memorize because you got it, and you had to work to get it. And so, like, right off the bat, first move I get in every DMC game is Stinger. You launch forward. It's a great way to close distances. I know how to do that because I bought it, and I ended up relying on that move. Later on, every combo I get, I practice it. I'm trying to tie it into my different combos because... And then by the time I have, every move unlocked, and the move list is about the same as other games, but I know and have every move on there memorized because, I had to work for every single one of those moves. And because it's so intuitive, I don't forget them either. Like, I can be away from DMC for a year, jump back in, and I don't feel that rusty. Like, I still feel like I'm in control. It takes a little bit, to remember the timing of some things, but like that muscle memory is still there. And so the first time playthrough experience of the game, I think, is so strong. Where, every move you're working for, and you go, oh, this is so fun. You've tied into your combos, and figure out how to use it effectively, and then you get another move, and that's awesome. And you're upgrading your weapons. It's such a blast.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to giving it more of a shot, because I fully am aware I did not give it a shot yet. I just wanted to start playing it, and then ended up not giving it the time of day. So very excited.
That happens.
My game. Unless you have more to say.
No, that's
okay. I just realized I might have cut you off. My game is Fallout 3 for number 34.
Ooh.
I have to put that one on here. It's such an influence for me in, maybe not, actually influence is the wrong word. It's very impactful though, in my journey through playing games and getting it more into the rated M mature games, starting with just Halo, and then BioShock, then Dead Space, and also this one. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, besides Halo, this was maybe the second. I think Fallout 3 was the second rated M game I ever played. And I'm bringing this up because as a kid who was sheltered and not really shown a lot of violent stuff, getting to use VATS and actually blast off people's heads and arms was quite eye-opening to me, and enjoyable. When you fight in a big super mutant, right, and you're just not knowing how to play the game, you're not knowing what you're doing, you're using this cool technology that freezes the enemy. You can target their different limbs, you can shoot them, and you can cripple them, and you can blast off their arms, and you can get a perk that makes it so enemies actually fully explode into gore, and you're just this kid going, oh, I love this shit, this is the best, this is awesome. That feeling of first going out of the vault and just seeing, everyone talks about it, and it's so true though, that feeling when you go out and the sky's all bright, and then you see that wasteland, and you're like, whoa, this is a big world, I can go here. And then having Megaton, the city where you can just nuke it as part of the story if you choose, and big decisions like that. Having vampire clan of people, having or cannibal people, and having perks to where you can eat corpses and things like that are just all messed up, and all these things that as a kid I was like, no, you can't do those things. And then you're like, I'm playing a video game, I can do whatever I want, this is amazing. It has such a moment in time in my mind of just this was a game that made me go, oh, games don't have the same rules as I do in my household. And that was really freeing and cool to me, to be able to realize I can just go anywhere, make moral decisions, and there are consequences in this game and in this fake world. And that was really, really special to me. And then I just loved the theme. I loved the post-apocalyptic wasteland. I loved the idea of the radiation and not be able to go with certain areas because there's too much radiation poisoning. I liked, as at that time, I loved collecting the different weapons and seeing what they did, and fighting different types of enemies and exploring. The biggest part was exploring. looking for chests of items and things, and it was very much like from myself running around in Zelda games looking for treasure chests. You would go around in different parts of the world doing that. Now I'm over in this other place and I'm exploring caves and subways and looking for more loot in other ways. So I really, really enjoyed that game a lot, and that's why it's my number 34.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel a little sad sometimes with Fallout 3 and New Vegas and stuff, where I kind of feel like I missed the boat on them a little bit, where I'm trying to think of how to say this without sounding like I'm shitting on Fallout, because I'm not, and I want to make that very clear. Like,
well, that's clear enough.
I think there's something about the open world experience, I think, that is really, really powerful. Like especially the first time, but like the first handful of times. And it's exactly what you're talking about. Like, yeah, seeing like, the classic Bethesda thing for like, you see that mount, you can go there. and like being able to like, wow, that's crazy. Because, I was used to playing, Portal, shit like that. That was really linear. And then having that first experience, I honestly don't even remember what my first open world game was. Now that I'm thinking about it, but
I'm just gonna say mine was Wind Waker.
Oh yeah. But I mean, in terms of that like true massive like modern open world experience, the issue is just that I've played so many like massive modern open world experiences at this point that are on a game design level probably better than Fallout 3, just because they've had so many years to learn from what that game sort of, and like that game and Elder Scrolls sort of paved the path for. Like they absolutely owe homage to that game, and that it should be respected for that. But going back to it in a modern lens is just really, really hard, where I don't have that nostalgia for it, And so when I'm playing it, all I can see is like, oh yeah, this was done better by this other game, and especially in like a post Breath of the Wild world, playing something like a Fallout 3 is just really, really difficult for the first time,
Yeah.
And I sometimes wish I could have that experience that you're talking about with the game, like leaving the vault for the first time, but it definitely from a more modern lens, I think doesn't quite have the same impact.
Oh, 1,000%. I don't get the same feel. I don't even get.
Which kind of just makes me sad.
It actually has ruined my feeling going back to playing it. When I do go back to play it, I go, oh man, like I remember really enjoying this, but I'm not having fun playing it right now. And it's that different. But I do remember those feelings. And I also, something that's funny, while you were talking, I just kind of realized this, but the quest, just the side quests, and also just like the themes and the dialogue and the stuff that people are talking about, or even how I said, there's like a cannibal there's a group of cannibals that are all like eating people, and they don't tell you that explicitly. You're just like talking to them. Oh yeah, they're eating people. Okay, like these guys are messed up. That kind of thing. That at that time, and at least in my child brain, not child really, I guess like 14. I don't know. Whatever
early
it was.
Teenager.
Yeah, early teenager. But like in my brain at the time, like, and I'm pretty sure this is true, like there just weren't any other games like that, and if there were, they weren't to that quality, and they didn't have those kinds of I don't know, groups of characters and themes that you in a lot of games now where you have these open worlds with like characters, you always have like, oh, and this is the little werewolf or the vampire clan over there, the weirdos, or you have to have the psychopath killer quest, right? Or you have to have this thing, and there's this crazy scientist in this quest, that's going to end up killing themselves, and like you kind of have these side quests that are almost always somewhat the same now, whereas at that time every single one I was like, whoa, I've never like thought of that happening in a side quest. I never thought of that being a character or that being a story thing. And so for me, that was like the thing that kept me going, like, holy shit, I really want to like look through this world and meet characters. You see a guy, you want to talk to him because you don't know if he's going to be all messed up and crazy and scary, or if he's going to be your friend or what's going on. And you didn't have I didn't have any reference to go off of. So I guess I didn't have any expectations. So then that really just made that game so amazing for me.
Yeah, I think Fallout and Elder Scrolls kind of suffer from a little bit what I will refer to as the Lord of the Rings effect, where I do not like the Lord of the Rings. And part of that is because I don't like fantasy, but part of it is also just because, to me, like that story just feels intensely generic. And not because, like, Tolkien wrote it to be generic, it's because those stories are amazing, and then every other fantasy author copied it. And so at this point, it feels like every other fantasy story I've ever read,
Right.
where with, the different races and the dwarves and the mountains and all these things that are, to be honest, Tolkien ripoffs. But because that's what I'm used to, and I've had so many that are, of that same quality, going back to read Lord of the Rings or watch movies or something, it just feels like something I've seen a million times. And I definitely think that Fallout kind of suffers from that a little bit. Where, I mean, like I was saying, going back to play Fallout 3, it's a good game, but I've played so many games of an equal caliber that are, newer, and it feels a little bit, I don't know, stale because of that. But it absolutely wasn't when it was made, and I think it's hard when you're, going back to something like that to remove that context and enjoy it in that way. But it definitely, in terms of like how I try to talk about the game and think about it, I definitely try to keep that in mind of like this paved the path,
It had its
not
moment.
Generic. It did. Yeah. And I definitely think it should be respected for that alone. Like you were saying, like there's so many side quest structures and just open world conventions that were copycats of this, like plain and simple.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Things, at this point, we're almost at the level of like copycats of copycats, where something, a game would come out that lists influence of something else, but that game's influenced by Fallout. And I think that's definitely a hallmark of an all-time great game, is when you get to that level.
Yeah, that's also just where eventually you just got to change the way the game plays, like God of War, right? Where you get to the point where it is, how many times can you copy yourself and just iterate a little bit until you finally change the way the game is completely.
I think that's what Fallout 76 was trying to be. I think they didn't stick the landing to be, but
No.
yeah,
it did not.
But it was definitely an attempt. I would like to see what Bethesda tries to do next in terms of really refreshing the formula and making it not, like you said, sort of a copy of a copy.
There'll be 16 times the detail. Do we want to do a game club game this week, Zig? We talked about possibly doing Psychonauts next. How are you feeling? I'll put you on the spot.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say
I could take it or leave it.
After E3, let's do it.
Okay, let's bring it back after E3. And we'll see what games are available and reevaluate. But as of this moment, Psychonauts is the one we're looking at possibly playing next. With all of that, Zig, do you have anything you want to plug before I, finish the show here?
Not really. Actually, I don't know. Was this within the last 2 weeks? First episode of Vertical Slice is out now on all audio platforms, on all podcatchers out there. So I can't remember if I've said that in the show or not. It's been a while, but in case I missed it, go listen to it. Yeah. And if I did say it, then here's a reminder. Go listen to Vertical Slice episode 1. It's on everything. Hopefully,
What's it about, Zig? Tell people what it's about.
Oh, it's a game design analysis podcast where we break down a different game each week of every little nitty-gritty bit of its game design. It's real nerdy. It's real fun.
It is fun.
I'm sure you'll love it.
I'm not a part of it, but I'm listening to it.
Yeah.
They're going to play Dishonored 2 eventually.
Hopefully, yeah.
They didn't say that. I'm just throwing them under the bus. I really want them to play Dishonored 2. But yeah, with all that, if you like the show, if you stuck around this long, thank you. Please leave a like and subscribe. We'll see you guys next week. And if things keep going the way they are, I'm sure there'll be a lot more to talk about. But until then, take it easy. Bye.
Bye.